Hello, everyone.
Hello,
Hey.
good evening.
Good
Are
evening.
you ready to get this to the place? Look, excuse me. You ready to get this party started?
Okay.
Yes.
You do that.
So today's topic, and my screen, I'm still working on the screen, so disregard that for now. But today's topic is I told you so moment. How do we deal with a I told you so moment? How do y'all deal with that? When you go through across a situation where you knew better, but you did it, and like, dang, I knew it was gonna happen. It becomes an I told you so type moment, or when you do it to somebody, how do y'all deal with that? Marcel, we'll start with you.
Um, how do I deal with that? Well, um, I think I just go ahead and go through it at that time. But then it's definitely a learning experience for me. And then I go back to how I have to live my life, meaning that I no longer want to continue generational curses. I no want to longer be a part of toxic relationships based on who it is and stuff like that. And so I have to go ahead and just put my foot down, tell everybody how I feel about the situation. And then from there point on, when I know that there's nothing there, there's no type of relationship, it's not gonna be no type of relationship and stuff like that. I just no longer I will no longer go through that. I just leave it alone. I say what I say and I mean what I mean and I move forward from that.
But the thing is, like in that situation, you saw it coming, but you gave it a benefit of a doubt to try to make it work.
Well, I think because of the fact that sometimes too, Mario, Tish and Eric, is because of the fact that I think sometimes we make decisions out of guilt. I think sometimes we make decisions out of manipulation. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And even though we're taught to sometimes think that way, I think that it has to get to a point where it has gotten to a point with me to where I'm no longer going to accept that type of behavior. So, however I dealt with it at that moment, that would be my last time dealing with it at that moment like that. I won't ever do it like that again. So, I think that we got to get over the fact that that's how we was raised. Do it anyway, um, based on who it is, what it is. I think that we have to start with ourselves and say, you know what, I will no longer put myself in those type of situations, no matter how it makes other people uncomfortable.
So pretty much in your situation, you had all the facts that it was a bad situation, but you started to go through it with it anyways, and then it turns out you should have just good with your gut feeling from the very beginning.
Exactly. And so, yeah, and also too, I'm gonna stop worrying about how it makes other people feel. I have, I'm no longer, yeah, no longer gonna do that. So yes,
Okay.
and it's a learning, and it's also has a bit of learning experience from for you from that day forward. So I would no longer handle that situation the same way that I did from that day all the way backwards.
Okay. All right. Eric.
Well, for me, I told you so moment is before I make the decision to do anything, I think it through anyway. So if it is not told you so moment, it's a learning lesson, and I automatically learn from it because I know what I did leading up to it. So it's easy. It's easier to not make the mistake again. When it comes to other people, I'm a no nonsense type of person. I'm gonna give you everything you need. I'm gonna tell you, hey, look, don't do this, this, and this. If you go against what I told you and something happened, I don't have to tell you I told you so. You already know what happened. So then that right there is a learning lesson too. I'm not gonna go as in depth with you anymore because if you're not gonna listen, there's no need for me to talk. Because if I told you because I've gone through it, or I know about it, or I know this, or I know that, and you go against it anyway, it's pointless to talk to you. So I'm gonna tell you everything that I tell you, just like when it's a I told you so moment with me. And let's go with somebody else. I go through the process and I think it all the way through before I tell you something or give you an answer. So you can bank on it. But if you decide to go opposite, there ain't gonna be too much more talking from this point forward because if you're not gonna listen, what is the point? I got better things to be doing with my time.
Oh, we're talking about
listen.
Are we?
Yeah.
I think we kind of like.
Yeah, we're talking about like if you're like it's a moment where you go out and you do something knowing that it was gonna come back and bite you in the butt. It was one of I told you so moment for you, not somebody else.
Yes.
Oh, for me, I
Right.
just said it. Well, before I make a decision, I think about it first. Okay, well, if I'm gonna do this, this is what could happen if I go ahead and do that. And if I do it anyway, it's a learning point. It's a learning spot for me. And from that point forward, I won't make that same mistake again. If you just think it through regardless and don't just blindly go do something, it's not that I bumped my head instead of split my head wide open. I just put it that way.
Right. Okay. Tish, what's like what are your thoughts?
So my biggest thing with this one is, why do we wait for conflict to happen and then say, "Oh, my instincts told me not to go do," or I found myself, or I see in other situations, that I told you so moments come after there's been conflict. But your instincts told you that little voice was like, no, don't commit to that, or no, don't do that, or it was there, but you go against it because I think to a certain extent we've been conditioned to people please, especially as it comes to family and close friends. It's been ingrained and like almost brainwashed into us to support situations that you no longer want to support. And then the conflict happens and you get to the other side and it's like, well, why did I even commit to, or say I was going to do something when I already know what these people are capable of, or my instincts told me not to even participate or go into a situation. And I can give you an example of something simple that happened with me Friday. I was going to a birthday party to support a friend, and I had a very busy day. And if I go out somewhere, I'm normally back home by 10 or 11 because I get up super early in the mornings. Instead of me following my instincts, I let myself get picked up at 10 o'clock at night when I'm normally on my way back home. So I get out and I'm so tired, like I'm short of having a temper tantrum like a baby because I'm irritable. Everything's getting on my nerves. I'm ready to go home. So I'm being mean to people. I mean, it just went from one extreme to another, but that was my fault. That sounds simple in the grand scheme of things, but what if these were people where this would have caused conflict and damaged friendships when I could have just stayed myself home knowing that I was tired? Just simple things like that we do, and you can have a I told you so moment, but it gets bigger if we don't learn to follow our instincts and not people please. That's what I call it. I mean, I can't think of a better way to say it other than we're people pleasing.
That's true. Yeah. I
See,
think
me,
so.
I say me, I look at it and see, I guess I'm like, in a way, I'm like Eric. But what I do is I put contingencies in place when I know I'm going to have I told you so moment. I kind of put that situation to where I'm going to put it in the box. If I go forth and do it, if it becomes one of those moments to where I knew it was going to happen, it still can't do any damage because I already put a contingency in place. So I knew it was going to happen. So like with me, when I put trust in people and I know this person is not going to do what they said they're going to do, I've already got a contingency in place to counterattack it. So the I told you so moment is there, but I'm already prepared to deal with it because when I look at a situation like what Eric was saying, you assess the situation and you look at the risk assessments, all those great things. You put something in place to where it cuts off the risk of it doing a lot of damage. And so my touch is when I put trust in people, and then I look at the situation and know, okay, you know what? I know this person is not going to do the right thing, but I'm gonna go ahead and give them the benefit of a doubt to see if they're going to do it. If they don't do what they said they were going to do, guess what? I already have something in place to make sure it doesn't have a major like Like it doesn't piss me off, or does it? I'm already prepared for it. It's just like once, like I said, I had a situation. I'm helping these families, and I'm looking at the situation, knowing this family is not capable of doing the right thing because they already have a history of not properly managing their money.
Mhm.
So, knowing that, I give them the opportunity to excel. And what do? They it's like I told you so moment happened, but it was put in a contingency situation to where it didn't do any major damage. And so those are like what Eric was saying earlier. We are going to look at the situation. We're going to assess the situation, and that's just that military side of us. Is we're going to have a contingency in place to where it cuts the risk of it doing a lot of damage or harm before it can. But I click, yep, no, knew it was going to happen. Oh well, I'm gonna keep on moving. We're not going to spend a lot of time on it because it was one of those things we already saw it coming. So you
Well, I
already.
think- so, I'm
But
sorry
my
about that.
thing is with that, I guess that falls upon the line of have no expectations, get no disappointments. But my thing is, it's one thing when it's in business or work related. It's different when it's family and when it's personal. Because sometimes you know what your family's capable of doing, but you still want to support them or be there for them or whatever the case may be. And I'll just give an example. Like last year, family reunion, it was a whole lot of stuff going on in my family. And I just did not like the energy that was coming from a lot of the situations. It was a lot of negativity, a lot of truths that had not been told. A lot of people didn't take responsibility or accountability for their actions. So for the first time in my life, I did not go to a family reunion. And that was one of the hardest decisions that I've ever had to make. But I'm not rewarding bad behavior anymore, even if it's family.
Exactly.
Disrespect is disrespect. And if I already know we done had all this conflict leading up to this family reunion, why am I gonna step into the lion's den and not know what's going on? I'm not, and I mean, I could have went and things would have been perfectly fine. But for me in that season, because I feel like in families and friendships, we just gloss over stuff and cover it up and you never get to the root of it. And when you dig to the root of it, a lot of times, you get labeled as difficult or mean or whatever the case may be. I'm over that. Here's the bottom line. We're all adults. If you disrespected me and I came to you and said you disrespected me, if we can't discuss the disrespect, then I don't need to be in your presence anymore. Why is I wasn't going to have a I told you so moment unnecessarily. When I already saw we done had a whole rough and tough and all that stuff summer. Why in the world would I go fake it till I make it, knowing that if somebody say something to me, I'm on high alert already because I know y'all jokers been sitting around lying all summer, So why do you put yourself in those situations? Because then I got the whole phone calls about, well, you should have came and you should this, that whole trying to family this and family need to stick together. No, family needs to be accountable. Family needs to be respectful. And when lines are crossed, family need to sit down and talk about the lines that are crossed so that there are no blurred lines at the end of the day. I prevented myself from having a I told you so moment because my instincts told me, no, don't go. Versus the old me would have said, well, it's family. Let me go ahead and go. That's the right thing to do. That's where it gets kind of complicated because in my mind, what I realized in that situation was I had been conditioned and brainwashed to say, it's family, go.
And
Well, see,
yeah.
I think, and see, to me, and again, it's like I do like me. I guess that's how I am with family as well, family friends. I already know what to expect with family. See, family is a little bit more predictable because I know Uncle Billy Bob is going to get drunk. So if Uncle Billy Bob is going to get drunk to the function that we're going to go to, mentally, I'm already prepared. So that I told you so moment is not going to happen because I'm already prepared for that to happen. Does it make it right that Billy Bob gets drunk? The Uncle Billy Bob gets drunk every time we have a function? No, but we already know that he's not going to change. He's always going to be that way. So it's kind of like one of those things to where men. I'm gonna say this: men and women are kind of built different when it comes to stuff like that. Because for men, if we see it coming, we mentally are prepared for it, and it's kind of like it's not going to be as it's not going to become a challenge because we already kind of put it in a category to where okay, because most of the time what happens is when we don't want to go somewhere, but we know we have to go because of our wives or our girlfriends, we are going because of that other individual. And yet we know when we get there, oh, they're going to do this, but we know we're not there for them. We're there for the person that we're with. Well, so we kind of like we prepare ourselves mentally to go into that. And even though we know what's going to happen, like I told you, so I knew it was going to happen, we still go through it because that person that's significant in our life is crucial to them. So we support them.
Well, I think it's based on the situation. But like I said, like I'll support my husband with certain things. But when there's certain things that I know that I shouldn't be there, I'm not gonna go. You know what I'm saying? Especially whenever the situation is already bad, and then you already find out things, you know, that you confirm things that was already there for years and years and years. You know what I'm saying? And I think sometimes we also go too, like you just said, you summed up somewhat, is because we trying to support that other person. But I'm to the point now in my life, it's like we'll talk about everything and we'll have to make each other see what's the positives and the negatives. And if I feel like that I don't need to be in that place, I got the type of husband that is going to support that, and we're not going to go. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm no longer now, like when Tisha was talking, I was talking to my husband too. I'm no longer supporting family based on because they're family. I'm no longer supporting generational curses anymore. Because see, what you said, Mario, with the drinking part, it's like we still saying that we're gonna go because family is different, but then there's gonna never be no change behavior because we're never gonna hold them accountable. You see what I'm saying? So it's to the point now in my life, and I'm just saying it's just me. I love my family. You understand what I'm saying? But in order for me to be at peace and have a healthy life for myself, I have to choose. I'm choosing not to be in certain situations anymore, and I don't care who it is. I'm not accepting the fact that, you know, being born and raised in Fayetteville, North Carolina, all my family is here, but I can count on one hand how many times how they don't call, they don't come by, don't do none of that. We don't support each other. They have certain things for their kids they don't invite. I'm sick of that. So I don't have to be a part of that because I choose not that. And I'm gonna be honest with you. I said, like, you know, it's just like, why would you go stand over somebody's casket, right? That who's living, and you don't even have a relationship with that person at all, period. But see, family will come back in and say, well, that was your uncle or that was your aunt, so you need to be at the funeral. Why? No. So I'm no longer doing that anymore. And I'm not going to allow anybody to do the guilt trip, the manipulation, that type of stuff. If I say I'm not going to go based on the fact that because y'all toxic, there's no relationship there, we never had a relationship, you're not going to throw up in my face that, well, that's family. No, I'm speaking for me. I'm not doing that anymore. Period.
Well, I mean, my thing is though, it's like we're talking about like in a sense of a I told you so moment, and it's like there's a difference of going into a hostile environment and I told you so moment. Like I told you so moment is kind of like if there's one person, like for example, you go into a family event and you know that one person that is always going to ruin the event is just in some reason that's their nature is to ruin the event. It's kind of like, what are you going to do with that one person? It's a difference where you have a whole hostile situation.
Well, it's a whole hostile.
That's what I'm saying, Mario. And a lot of families, it's not just one person. It's a multitude of situations compounding. I don't have a problem with the drunk, high, whatever
Me
uncles
either.
and cousins.
Yeah.
They're not bothering me anyways because they know I don't do those things.
Right.
And however they choose to react or behave when they drink or whatever they do, that's not it. I'm talking specifically to, and I'm not going to ask if I have a spouse or a significant other or even a friend anymore to go into a situation that I know is not healthy.
Exactly.
What I'm talking about is the mess, the things where there's been conflict and everybody wants to sweep it under the rug. And then you see that, and I'm not going into anymore I told you so moments to even predict or try to control my mindset not to have a moment. Because some things have been swept under the rug for so long, Marcella, and Eric, that all it would take is one situation and it could be normal 1 minute and the next minute is something else, because you can't control other people's behavior when they are accustomed to drama and bad behavior. Right. And what I realized was I've been excusing bad behavior for a long time.
I think we all have.
I've been enabling people around me to feel like it's okay at any given moment to have adult temper tantrums. And that's really what they are. You know, people want to be able to say, and I get what you're saying, you know that these people behave this way.
Right.
But when it's 12 Looney Tunes, I mean, what am I going into that situation for?
And that's a big difference because there's no positive outcome in that situation. Like it's like I'm not going to go into a situation where no matter which way you look is negative.
There we go.
I mean, that's a whole different situation than I told you so moment, because I told you so moment is technically like a 1 or 2 person type situation where you know that one person, you already predict this one person is gonna do something to get on your nerves, and it's like, okay, yep, they did it, but you know how to deal with it. I told you so moment. It's a contingency in place. But when you're going into a full negative situation, that is no I told you so moment. You know you're going into negative situation.
Not necessarily though. In some cases, I'm telling you, in some families, like if I brought you into the situation, you're not gonna have the insight to what I have. You would think this is a loving, caring, wonderful family. You're not gonna know it. That's what I'm saying. So to take the mask off, I have to first take it off of myself and admit that this is a facade. And that's the problem with most of us. The I told you so moments come when there's conflict. But you knew there was a possibility of conflict, whether it be with one person, 2 persons, or 10 people. I am no longer going into situations. You have to do that at work. You have to do that if you're advocating in the community. I don't have to do that in my personal space, is what I understand. I'm no longer waiting for conflict to happen. If my instinct tells me I don't need to be there, I'm not going. Right. It doesn't matter who it is anymore, because I am tired of rewarding bad behavior, and I told you so to myself when I could have prevented it from the beginning. And you're right, men and women are differently, because we may have an emotional reaction in a moment where y'all may apply logic and reason. I'm not always mature or grown enough to apply logic and reason when you don't work all 55 of my nerves. So you might get whatever you dishing out in that moment. I can't promise you that. Look, so I had to learn that if that little voice says, Tisha, I don't care who that is, don't go, I got to stay home. Because I was going, knowing that, hey, it could be conflict, then saying, man, my instinct told me not to go.
Right.
It's too late then, though. You already there. Look.
But like I said, it's a difference to where when you're doing an I told you so moment, there's a possibility that it's going to be a good moment. When you go into a negative situation and you know everything about that situation is negative, that's no longer I told you so moment. You know what you're getting yourself into. I told you so moment is kind of like one of those things to where there's a possibility that it might not turn out that way.
Yeah, but I'm saying to you, in my family structured situations, it is a possibility it may not turn out that way. But then it's another possibility that it may go all the way left.
Okay, so that's different. See, yeah, that's different, yeah.
It's unpredictable behaviors.
Right.
And what I'm telling you is a lot of the things that I didn't think was going to go left that summer went left, U-turn, flipped over, flat tires and everything. And I'm like, wait a minute, why is this going? But the thing was, I don't blame other people. I looked at myself and said, what did my instincts tell me to do? And did I go against my instincts? And now that there's conflict, was I looking for resolution? Was I even prepared? Or like you said, the thought process of, okay, I'm going into this and I'm committed to the circus, no matter if the animals act right or not. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm not always, I'm going to say mature and spiritually mature enough to handle that. So what I've learned is if that little thing that says, Tisha, you don't need to be there, I politely remove me.
Right. And see, I think what it is that I think everybody has a family or family members that you just can't be around. We all know who they are. We all know how to deal with them. Sometimes I get it. Some people have completely disconnected themselves from their family because their families are extremely toxic. Those are things that that when you get to that point where you just can't be around family, then you're kind of grown into a sense to where you're seeking peace.
Right.
You no longer want the drama, the extra. It's like we get to the point, it's all ha he when we're young, but as we get older, we become wiser on the situation, and we know that why am I going to go down here and know they're going to act crazy? Why am I going to go down here and know that I'm going to get into it with Uncle Billy Bob because he likes to dance on my shoes when I'm walking by? I mean, those are things that we have to, we kind of see it, know it, and understand it. I know with me, when it comes to my family, there's certain things that I'm not going to tolerate. And if I see it coming, or if I know it's going to happen, I'm not going to deal with it.
Right.
And it's always that one. And to me, it's always that one person in the family that's going to ruin it for everybody. There's always one. It's like that
you
one.
Lucky. Look, you lucky. It's just one.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some families got more than one, but it's always that one person that has a miserable life, has done everything wrong in their life, and don't want to see nobody else happy because they can't be happy.
Right.
I mean, I think we all have that in our. I know we have at least one. Sometimes you got some families got more than one, but we all have at least that one person in our family that does that.
And then you have to have maybe like two conversations too, because like say for instance, like if you're single or you girlfriend and boyfriend, or then you husband and wife, you understand what I'm saying? And so you have to have those conversations too, because like again, like if like my husband, like my family, if they made my husband uncomfortable, you know what I'm saying, and he just didn't want to be around them, then, and I knew how my family was too, and the reason why I'm gonna still go is because of that generational curse. You know what I'm saying? Because the fact that I was raised to think in my mind that you always got to support no matter what. We can put what happened last week at the last barbecue to the side. You need to just be here. And so that's why you have to have two different conversations based on what type of relationship you and your partner has. Mm-hmm. And so when you do that, then you know what I'm saying? Because I want to make sure, the decision that I make for him is in his best interest. And the decision that he makes for me is mine. And then what we make for each other is our best interest and stuff like that. But like I said, we just have to keep it real. It's like it's time to, because we always talk about how Black people won't do this, how Black people won't do that. We still sitting here holding on to the same stuff. We won't even let it go. We have to be, no. I said, let me be the first one to start and say, I don't care how you feel about me. I am not putting myself in situations when I already know how y'all feel about me. I'm just not going to do that. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And so
you already know the outcome, right?
Right. I already know the outcome. And so I'm not going to do it. And so therefore, like I said, so I have to have that conversation with my husband, because he's not a boyfriend. He's not just a partner. And we got to figure out how we got, how we gonna, and I know he never put me in a situation where, it was bad, or I'm never gonna put him in a situation where it's bad either. But like I said, I am, and I talked to Eric about that. I'm me stopping all that. I'm not gonna be supporting certain people just because I was born into the family. I'm not doing that anymore. Like we don't, like you said, we do not hold people accountable. And we already know how the behavior is because you've been acting this way for 20 years, 25 years, 26 years. Why are we still doing that? Because, oh, when we say we family that sticks together, prays together, stay together, whatever. That ain't even the truth for real though.
That's starting now more and more days. I mean, as we move on in 2024, and that might be a whole nother show by itself. What is a family in 2024? Families in 2024.
I think that's next week. We need to talk about it next week.
I'm just gonna say is that families. I mean, right now I'm sitting here, and a lot of these families and people I'm helping. I mean, not these families. They are not getting any support from their families, and it makes me wonder why. Like here it is, you got like, and I think I asked you this question before: is if your daughter or your son,
excuse me,
is out here homeless with your grandchildren, and you can't do anything, you're not going to do anything to help them? I mean, I'm not saying they have to come into your house, but I'm just saying you're not going to do nothing to help them. And most of the time, I get it. It might be a situation that we might not find out, but I'm just saying it's a difference to where, okay, if it's like one family, two families, but what I'm seeing is a trend across the board is that you got families out here that are homeless, trying to get out of being homeless, and most of their own family won't even help or support them.
Because it could have been the situation, Mario, where they didn't have to be homeless. They didn't listen to their family, and the decisions that they made put them out there, and their family keep telling them this over and over again, keep helping them over and over again. And sometimes families just say, you know what, go through it. Because once they go through it, maybe now something up here start ticking and say, you know what, I have to make better decisions because my family did tell me. Because people have to realize too, sometimes Mario and Tisha and Eric, sometimes we get tired. We get tired of our family. We get tired of always have to be the one that always got to pick up the pieces whenever you just don't want to make the right decisions, be accountable. And it's not even the fact of trying to run somebody's life, run a young mother's life that has children or maybe a boyfriend or whatever because she got family in Fairview. It might be to a point now where they have one of them I told you so moments and they let them go through it.
That's what I was going to say. Sound to me like those families had a I told you so moment with those families and said, we ain't doing this no more.
But see, my thing is this, is the only thing I see wrong with that whole situation is when there's children and babies involved. When you have children and babies involved, it's a whole different approach because like my thing is this, like most of the ones I'm dealing with right now are single parents or single mothers. Why should the children pay for either a bad decision made by the mother, the father, or because the father's not in the picture? Why should they have to suffer? And see, that's that curse that we keep talking about that for some reason will not go away with a lot of families is like it started with one. Well, my father wasn't in my life, so why should one be in yours? I mean, and that's the wrong attitude to have because if we're going to break these curses, somebody has to make a stand. But
I think the curse can go two ways though. Like you said, like the generation, like my father wasn't here, so I don't know how to be a dad or mom, right? But then there's the other side of the curse too, Mario, because now, again, I understand about the children because like I said, we got our grandchild, but I understand about the kids too. But sometimes, and a mother told me this before, sometimes they don't even help even when they have children because still they're not learning because they feel like, okay, even if I help these children, if I continue to rescue because of the children, they still never gonna learn. You understand what I'm saying? And she said the reason why, she said, I'll make sure my grandkids eat or whatever the case may be. But she said that we still have to realize that how do we fix these parents that using these children as a pawn because you know that you have children out here. You understand what I'm saying? We always forget about the parents that lay up here and have all these children. And then it's like, okay, I don't want to go out here and I don't want to be responsible. But now here's my children. Well, my children ain't got nowhere to go. And it's just like somebody health is failing. And I'm trying to help you so much with your health, but you don't care. You understand what I'm saying? You don't care. So if you don't care, and I understand you talking about the kids, if you don't care, then why should I care more than you care? And so I think a lot of times too, even with the family, sometimes the families are also saying I told you so moment is because a lot of times they be using these children as a pawn. So if I keep on constantly helping my children and my grandkids, I'm gonna constantly keep on helping you and whoever you land up with, and then that way you're never gonna learn either. So it could be that reason too. And I'm not saying it's right, but I'm just saying sometimes we have to look at it. Sometimes you have to say, okay, if you show me that you're trying and you doing the best that you can, then I will help you. But if you keep using your children as a pawn, because you must don't care about your situation either. You know you got these babies, you know you got these small kids. Why are you not even trying to change your situation when somebody's trying to help you and somebody's trying to tell you how to get yourself up out of that? So a lot of times people try to use them kids as a pawn, and then some parents will say, you know what? I understand they got kids out here. I love my grandkids. I want them in the streets, but this is not going to help them. So
unfortunately, a part of the generational curse too is a lot of people would rather hear from a stranger than a familiar voice.
yeah.
Mhm.
So that's the other part. So what I found is, like, even when I was hot and heavy doing the life coaching and stuff, you can't help people who you know. It takes too much from you to help people you know because your voice is too familiar.
Right.
So they can go to a Mario who, because it depends on what the backstory is too for these individuals, because a lot of times there's history of abuse or something going on within the family. So, and that's getting into a whole nother topic, like you said, Mario. But the bottom line is sometimes people don't listen to their family. They would rather receive the help from a stranger. And unfortunately, a lot of times it's because they feel like they can manipulate a stranger because a stranger doesn't know their
Don't know the
history or
story.
what they've been
Right.
capable or what
That's
they've been doing.
That's
And
true.
so that's the flip side to that. And that's where the I told you so moments come in for the family to say, listen, again, we can't compete with the streets. For you to get you and your kids homeless, there's a level of accountability as a single mother that you didn't want to have to be on the system or to get the help that you and your children need. Because more than likely, at some point in time, an olive branch was extended to you.
Right.
What did you do? So again, like Marcella said, sometimes some people have to be repeat offenders of the same thing. And those are their I told you so moments to be able to get to a place where you get to a Mario and there's a level of accountability and they may be ready to receive that from you as a stranger. But the same thing you probably are doing, a family member of sorts probably tried to do the same thing. And I can speak to that because when my brother was going through some things and his baby mother was going through some things, she just asked for her kids to be taken in a moment that she needed to get herself together. Okay. In that moment, I took her children for I think 9 or 10 months, but she got herself together and got her kids back, and nobody's had to take them again. So again, I wouldn't have kept taking those kids, jolting them back and forth. You see a lot of that. And then that makes it makes it a very stressful environment for the family that's trying to help.
Right.
Because now, I don't know if y'all know this too. Speaking of that, a lot of times now, social services and stuff, remember how they used to always advocate for the kids to go into the home of a family member?
Yes.
That's not always the case now.
It's not. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, that's not always the case because they used to always advocate to go to family first, but that's not always the case now.
But see,
Yeah.
that's one of those things where when you've had so many I told you so moments,
Exactly.
that's a sign right there that you're going the wrong path. And I know for a fact that when you look and assess a situation, you can tell when someone had I told you so moments and disregard them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And that's the thing that bothers me is when you have a person's mindset to where they're going to keep doing what they want to do, even though I told you so moments consistently keep happening and you got children involved, then something needs to be done. Because I told you so moments will turn into a tragic.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
And we've seen it happen way too many times within these last few years
Yeah.
where I told you so moment. It's just like right now, what we're dealing with is these young children are on the wrong path. And we've done most, I'm gonna say we, but I'm gonna say the parents never corrected it,
Mhm.
never done anything with it. And then these same ones go out and have children
Yeah.
and they still on the wrong path. So
Yeah.
now the children are being dramatized, or they should be, and they're constantly being bam. It's like, they're getting hit with it as well. So now you're making and producing another generation of "I told you so" moments with the children, and
Yeah.
it becomes then they consistently, and it's like, so now here it is. We have you're doing wrong. The "I told you so." The parents untold you, the family untold you, the uncles, the grandmas, but you still don't want to listen until something bad happens. So those are things that's like, how can we prevent? I'm going to close with that. How can we prevent people going through "I told you so" moment?
Just hold. It's just time to start holding yourself accountable first for continue to make decisions because you feel like that's what you're supposed to do, and then you have to also hold the "I told you so" moment. Hold those people accountable as well. It has to start somewhere, and we have to stop putting our emotions in it because a lot of times when we put our emotions in it, the decision that we make is still not going to be a good decision because we put our emotions in it, and we act on impulse and our emotions.
Responsibility and accountability. You have to hold them responsible and accountable, just like you hold your stuff with yourself. Hold yourself responsible and accountable, and you hold those people responsible and accountable. And like she said, one thing I do is I preach that to Satan to my grandson all the time. Take emotion out of the equation. Emotion makes the equation incorrect. Emotion makes the equation unsolvable, which is why they tell you why. Because you asked me, why is it bad for you to pick the first house you got, the first house you see? Because the first one is usually the emotions involved in it. That's why you have to line up several different ones to make sure. Now, if you go back to the first one, that's an adult decision. But see, and when you inject the equation into it, because you end up with regrets. Oh, I wish I would have got this car instead of that truck. I wish I would have got that truck instead of this car, because you put emotion into the equation. What goes into the equation is clear and sound judgment, applying everything that you know and everything that you learn, basically your experience, and coming up with the best decision possible. Because regret leads to doubt, and then that leads into poor decision. So take emotions out of it. You have to take emotion out of it, and this leads into why a lot of these people don't get it. A lot of them are homeless or this or that because you put emotion into it. You say, well, my grandkids are hurting. Okay, well, that your daughter or your son is still responsible for those children. And see, you thinking you helping the children, but you helping them to continue on with that bad behavior, and you wonder why they haven't learned anything. You injected emotion. Take emotion out of it. Make them responsible and accountable, and you will see better results. I promise you.
Okay. Tisha?
So for me, I think y'all hit it. It's yourself first. Know yourself. Know what your boundaries are, what you can and cannot deal with. Learn to listen to your voice in a way where you understand it's not negative. Our brains are created to protect us, but to an extreme, if we have a negative thought, it will protect us from what we think as well. So I agree with what you all are saying. Before you go into that dynamic, whatever it is, assess the situation and then make a clear choice. But when you make that choice, if you can't prepare to deal with the I told you so moment from the instinct, then that's the I don't go. Don't wait for the conflict to happen. You know, so that's something that I had to work on because I would force myself to go. And so what how I would hold other people accountable is I would let them know, don't force yourself into any situation that you're not willing to face the truth about.
Right.
That's right.
And then that'll prevent all the conflict, because if you're prepared mentally, physically, and emotionally to deal with whatever come what may in that situation, then you don't have the conflict. You have the conflict when you have an expectation and you get disappointed.
Right. And
So, go into things accepting and not tolerating people too. So that's the other way that I'm able to deal with people better, because I accept them for who they are, and I'm not just tolerating them. Because what I noticed is when I have only tolerance for people, my fuse, I'm not prepared to deal with them. Yeah, you're right, Eric. And then I'm not prepared to deal with them. But when I've accepted a person, then I'm prepared to deal with them. And I deal with them in my time, so that I don't have the I told you so moments.
And here's the secret. You just proved my point. When you're accepting, you have taken emotion out of it.
Yep. Apply logic.
Which makes that person see tolerating is putting emotion into it.
Exactly.
And nothing good comes out of it. Here's the biggest problem with I told you so moment. People can't recover. Why? Because they don't go over the good, the bad, and the ugly from that decision. What happens if I don't do this?
Right.
Am I prepared? Like you said, am I prepared for the truth about what happens if I don't? We just say, well, it's good. I just going to go, boom. It's like when we went on that trip, I said, you know what? We're going to be gone for 5 hours. Let me put some tools in the trunk. Sure enough, we weren't even 10 minutes from a friend's house. Poof, pulled over, flat tire. Right off of 95. And you know them cars going by. And the tire of that bus was on the passenger side, so I wasn't facing the road. But since I had my tools in the back and it was hot that day, it didn't even take 5 minutes. Put the spare on, put it in there, gone. And see, I already thought about good, the bad, the ugly. If I didn't want to do it, that's why you got AAA. And if I didn't want to bother AAA, my insurance has that in there too. So the good, the bad, and the ugly is already covered. If you cover those three things when you make decisions, you will erase the emotion and you will make good decisions.
I mean, I'm gonna tell you, when I decided not to go to the family reunion, that was a tough one for me, because I'm one of those people that normally just forge on through it. But I thought about it. I said, well, if somebody died in between now and the next family reunion, am I gonna be at peace with that? And I was. So I was fine with it. I just didn't. I had enough. I didn't want to deal with any more. I didn't want to deal with any more nothing at that point. It had been too many situations for me. So at that point, I looked at all of it, because that was what if something happened to somebody? I can't live in the what if. I gotta be at peace, because the I told you so's had gotten greater than my peace at that point. So I had to protect my peace. So that's the other thing. You got to understand that instinct of yours too is you protecting your peace and your joy. And every time you go into situations that disrupts them, you got to go back and figure out where, how to be peaceful again, because you didn't got upset or whatever. But like you said, the emotional piece of it. But I even thought it down to, if somebody died, am I going to be all right with that? Look, if I don't see them, yeah.
Well, it's like Mario said, that one person, I can go into a room full of people that don't like me and be good. Why? Because You have to know yourself, and to know yourself means you exhibit who you are, which means people know who you are, and they know not to start this mess. Or if you do, it's time to get up and walk out.
Right.
You have to get up and walk out. See, that's taking emotion out of it. You get up and you walk out. Well, I wish you would come over here. I'm gonna sit here and I'm gonna wait. So you put emotion in there. It's get ready to go left real fast. No, get up and leave,
or hang up the phone. It's simple as hanging up the phone if somebody talking crazy.
Yes.
Just hang up. Look,
here's the thing. Here's the thing. I hate to say that. I hate to say this, but y'all women will stay on that phone. Me and Mario start. If me and Mario get into it, we gonna end up hanging up that phone. Ain't gonna be no
this one.
Pumping chests and doing this, but y'all women, y'all will sit there and no, you have to cut that off. If it ain't positive, this is not gonna bring anything into my life positively. It's done.
Not this one anymore, Eric. I will hang up. I'll let you know because I don't want to hear it because words do hurt. And then it becomes a I told you so moment of I should have hung up the phone.
I will not. Yeah, I don't say that. You know what? Hey, bro, this conversation ain't going nowhere. I'm gonna go on and hang up, and we respect each other more as men. Right. Yeah, okay, we cool. Cause then I can turn around and call him. You know what, dog? Hey, can you meet me for lunch at so and so? All right, hey man. Look, we got off on the wrong foot. That's why you don't see many men at odds because we will do that. We will. Hey, you know what, bro? I'm gonna hang up. We turn back around. We can break bread. Boom, done. I'm not gonna if it's not beneficial to me, if it's not adding to my life, I gotta cut it off. I'm going to cut it off because I don't have the time for these migraines. I don't have the time for my heart racing. I don't have the time for none of that. I'm not doing it. It's not gonna happen. So if you decide if you want to call me, if it ain't gonna be no positivity, you might as well don't even waste the seconds of your life because I'm not gonna answer. And I'm not finna sit here and text you back and forth either. I don't see how people do that. We'll text a whole Stephen King novel when you could have just picked up the phone
and called.
So are you gonna have I told you so moments? Yes, it's part of life. It's how do you get from it? What do you learn from it? If you don't learn from it, you keep doing the same thing, you're the problem, not them. They being who they are.
And that's what you hit it right there in the nose, Eric. Because like what I look at a situation, and this is one of the things, is I will assess the situation before I put myself in a situation. I'm going to assess it. I'm gonna put all the risk factors in place. I'm gonna put it all. So in other words, I'm gonna put together a nice little room for my situation to be in. And when that situation doesn't turn out the way it was supposed to, number one, I'm gonna see the signs up front. And that's why I say, well, it's like to me, when I take a family and I help a family, I'm giving you the platform for you to be successful. I'm only providing you 10% of what you need. You already have the 90% in you to be successful. I'm giving you that additional 10% to put you at 100% to reach your goals. Now you got two choices. You take that 10% and make 100%, or you stay at 90 and never make it to the 100% that you need. And what people do is they think, and this is the problem with people in general nowadays, is if they think they're getting over on you, they think they're doing something. But in reality, they're just hurting themselves.
Yes.
It's like if someone comes in and they're trying to provide you with the platform, I'm not going to have it. I told you so moment. I'm providing you with a platform for you. I'm already successful. I'm already taken care of. You thinking you're taking advantage of the situation is not going to hurt me. It's going to hurt you.
It's going to hurt you.
But people don't understand that. So what happens is they're going to have an I told you so moment because they're going to like, well, dang, they try to help me. And this is what's going on is, dang, they try to help me and I didn't take advantage of it. So then it becomes a I told you so moment for them. If someone is reaching out, if your own family didn't want to help you out, and you have somebody here providing you everything you need to be successful, and you think you're getting over, you think you're taking advantage of the situation, guess what? That situation ain't gonna last for so long.
No,
Mhm.
no.
And then you're gonna have a "I told you so" moment. Like, dang, you know what?
Another opportunity.
That nonprofit was really trying to help me,
Mhm.
but I didn't take advantage of it.
Mhm.
Oh, dang, I should have done it. And then you know what? It's like it's gonna catch up with you eventually. It's gonna catch up because you ain't got but so many nonprofits that gonna
That's
provide
it.
that.
That's it.
And so once you burn every single bridge
Yeah.
and you're still stuck in the same place, dang, I wish I would have took advantage of all those people trying to help me.
And see,
So
and that's that I told you so moment with emotion.
there you go. That's
you
what
you end up falling flat.
and
Right,
that's
because you didn't apply logic and reason to
Right.
they're helping me, they're helping my children. And that's what I said. For me, it's not even about people pleasing. That's what I'm saying. I think you hit it on the head earlier, Mario. We are conditioned different as men and women. As women, we're conditioned to have empathy and all these things. And therefore, when we don't, we're viewed as cold and dry or mean, right? But I can take those words now because that's just you trying to manipulate me into an "I told you so" moment.
right.
Because it doesn't have to make sense to anybody else as long as it makes sense to me.
Exactly.
Right.
There you go.
And so that's what I had to learn and understand. It doesn't have to make sense. The 1 + 1 doesn't have to equal 2 for you. It can equal whatever you wanted to equal. As long as it equals peace and joy for me,
That's it.
that's it.
That's all you need.
And you know,
Emotions that have you making sure everybody else is good. See, everybody else don't. It's impossible for you to make sure everybody else is good if you're not good. We
Right.
understand that if you're not good, you're no good for anyone else.
the only time I feel manipulated, and I'm gonna be honest, because we've been sitting here talking, is and have those "I told you so" moments is when you knew better and you did against what you knew better than to do. So going back to it too, I think we're lacking accountability for ourselves.
Yep.
We blame it on. I mean, you hear people constantly, "I'm in this situation because of this, and this," but you don't ever hardly hear people say what they did.
Right.
You only hear what everybody else did or how everybody else failed them, but you failed yourself at some point in time. And forgiveness for yourself is important in order to move on as well. Because I can't imagine right now my son and I being homeless and me not feeling like some form of a failure if I did that. So I think the part of that too is being able to accept responsibility for the actions that I took to get us in that situation.
Right.
So I will, and you're right. That's two folds of an "I told you so" situations, because it can be in an extreme situation or it can be in a minimal situation.
Right.
You know.
But the thing is that a person who see, and this is the sad thing about it, is these people out here, they don't understand that when they think they're getting over, they're just shortening their rope.
Yep.
And that's all they're doing. And that's the crazy thing is because when your own family, and see that's a large volume when your own family doesn't want to deal with you. So then you're out here and you're dealing with nonprofits. And so you're gonna burn that little by little, you're chopping away that rope. And when that rope gets to the end, you got nowhere else to go. You got nothing to hold on to.
Yeah.
And that is the problem, is that for those that you think you're getting over, your rope is getting short.
Because
you're not
they're
gonna have nothing to
already
hold on to.
established.
Yeah. And so that's what I said.
So
I think that's where the "I told you so" moment, the moment you have so many "I told you so" moments and you still not changing your course of action, then guess what? It's going to be on you.
That's right.
That's all on you.
I had one while I was still in. Hey, you need to go talk to him. Walked over there. Hey, what's going on? My wife this, my wife that. Hey, you do know you can walk away, right? Yeah, but this. I said, they got barracks rooms for that specific purpose for you to get away. I got this. I'm gonna do it. Okay. Hey, look, you got that. Remember, you got that Lautenberg Amendment. You put your hands on it. You done. I'm gonna do this. Hey, look, man. If she gets mad and starts fussing at you, leave. He didn't. She accused him of putting his hands on her. She knew that Lautenberg Amendment right out by heart. He got put out the next day. Not the next day. He got put out. And guess what? She ended up finding out. Your money gone now.
Right.
That I told you so moment. You didn't think this through.
Right.
You didn't think that through. I'm gonna fix him. Yeah, you sure fix him all right. And you fixed him and messed up your situation. So being able to recover from I told you so moments, people that are long range thinkers, it doesn't hurt as much. You might bump your head instead of splitting it wide open. You see what I'm saying? I know guys that I came in with that couldn't. They say I'm done. I'm out. But I'm not finna do all that and not retire. Long range. I said we ain't getting no younger. So you might as well go and tell you, baby. They say I could do 26. I'm at 22 now. Well, we'll be in until we get out. All right, cool. Best decision we ever made. Especially now. Who could have known about COVID? Nobody.
Right. Nobody. But since it happened, we good. You and I, we retired, so we straight. We ain't got to go through all this excess mess. See, that's an I told you so moment can be good too. Because if you think that okay, well, if I do this, it might go left. But if you do it and it don't go left, that was a successful I told you so moment. Because you were prepared for the worst. But the worst didn't happen. It actually turned out to be good because you planned for it, you prepared for it. The bottom line is take emotion out of the equation, women. Take emotion out of it. You gotta take. If you don't take emotion out of it, you're gonna be asking the what in the world question over and over again. And why did this happen? Why did this? No. Or you're gonna stay stuck in your situation. That's the biggest
right.
part. You're gonna stay stuck in your situation, and I think that's the part that people need to understand is that the moment you think you're getting over on somebody is the moment that you're gonna fail.
Yep.
That's the moment that you're burning bridges, you're blowing up bridges, you're cutting away from the rope that you have, and so then you put yourself in a bad situation across the board. So like you already burnt all your bridges with your family, right? So this is how I'm looking at it. Well, the moment that you have to go and get support from a nonprofit, that means you pretty much exhausted all your bridges, or blew up all your bridges with your family.
Yep.
And then when you come to nonprofit, ain't but so many nonprofits. So when you go through it, you take advantage, or you think you're taking advantage of these nonprofits. Nonprofits are going to cut you off because there is no emotions connected. They're going to work with you. They're going to work with you, and then when they see you're not being productive, they're giving you what you need to overcome your situation, and you're not being productive with it. Then you get cut off, and then you guess what? Now you got a track record of you not being productive. And that track record is going to be shared every time you go to another nonprofit, Bam! Right. Now you're in a situation where you got no more rope to hold on to, and it's all because all those "I told you so" moments that were happening, you didn't pay attention to them. You disregard.
But I'm glad Eric brought up the point that the "I told you so" moments can be positive as well. Not all of them are negative,
right?
Like y'all were saying, when it was time, when your service was up, it was up. It was time to serve the benediction to something. It's just time. And I realized too that the cutoff, the word itself, people may think is negative, but it's not negative when it, like we said, keeps your peace and joy in place.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. I think we take certain words and we use them to manipulate people. And just because, again, I'll say you don't understand why I don't want to have a I told you so moment with me. I don't have to explain that anymore. And I used to think I owed someone an explanation. I don't.
Trust
I don't
me.
want to have that encounter with you, good
I
or
have.
bad. If it's a good and I don't want to have an encounter with you, that's still my choice too.
Right.
You know, because people, that's another thing too. The I told you so moments for me have come in from overbooking or making myself too busy too,
Mhm.
to where I was wore out and couldn't take care of myself the way I needed to. I just had a situation this week where I talked to a friend of mine, and she used to always be trying to get me to go do this, do that, do this, do that, and I would always say, no, I have a child now, I can't prioritize those things. And then now she's at a point where she's like, well, I got to change my priorities so I can take care of myself. Here's where we have to get to a point too, because it hasn't told you so yet in your life. Don't criticize somebody else that's already been told that I told you
Right.
so for their life.
Right.
You know, because it was people make time for what they want to make time
Right.
for. That's true, but you have to also balance out making time for too many things, because you can't
Mhm.
overcommit
Yep.
yourself, and that can turn into a I told you so moment. So
Absolutely.
again, I think that where I see these moments causing the most conflict is when other people don't respect other people's thought or trained process for
Mhm.
protecting themselves and their peace in that moment. I don't have it because they immediately start to attack your character. That has nothing to do with my character because I chose not to come to an event.
Right.
Mhm. Well, and you have to understand too that you don't have to explain yourself to anybody who's not worth the explanation.
Exactly.
And I preach this all the time. Now, for you or Mario, you are worth the explanation. So I will explain to you, Tish, I can't fix your car on Friday. I can come Saturday because X, Y, and Z.
Right.
Boom. Mario, I couldn't come to help you because of this. I can't do it Monday, but I can do it Wednesday. I can't do it Monday at 4, but I can do it Monday at 12. Now,
Right.
if that person ain't in my circle, I wish you would come up here and ask me to explain to you whatever. I'm just gonna give you the look and I'm gonna walk away. That's your key right there to walk away, go the other way, because I'm not gonna do it. So many, and that's the problem with society. You end up explaining to the wrong people.
Mm-hmm.
See, you end up explaining to the wrong people. That's an I told you so moment. Why are you explaining something to him who ain't got nothing to do with what you had to do? Why? You don't have to.
Well, that goes back to Mario's point with these families. When you're helping them, they end up having to explain to nonprofits that things that they could have explained or not had a I told you so moment with their family, and they wouldn't even be within that situation. You know, and so yeah, I'm starting to see that on a whole nother level now, because it's a domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm not listening to me and I'm listening to everybody else, then I'm going to end up not doing what's best for me, which could put me in a compromising situation anyways.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not
And
doing
turn.
that.
So I think maybe that's something to explore too. When the people are listening to everybody else except for their own self in the I told you so moments, that's how they can end up in a vicious cycle over and over and over again too, with not being able to even receive the help when it comes to the nonprofits. Because what's going to be the difference? You guys are going to give them the tools and the rules, but most people are in bad situation don't like rules and they don't like structure.
No, they don't.
And that's why the thing is, and that's what I say, if you're assessing the situation, right? I mean, that's one of the things that they taught us in the military. You assess the situation. Okay, first thing first is, why is this person coming to me for help? Okay, I am not their family, so they're coming to me for help. So that lets you know that they probably have exhausted every single element in their family, because now they're going to nonprofit. So what does that say about them? Now, if you talk to them and you ask a question, like one of the questions I asked is, okay, are you from here? No. Okay, where's your family? If they tell me that their family is in a whole nother location, a whole nother state, then I know now I know it's a serious situation because they most likely they're running from the problem.
Running from, yep.
And so there's like people don't understand is that every time you answer a question, if you have a mindset like coming up as a non-commissioned officer of the United States Army, we are assessing every time you answer a question. It's not the answer, it's how you answer the question. Mm-hmm. And you're assessing every single thing. And so the I told you so moments, even though you're answering the question the way you think that you're manipulating somebody, you're already telling us how many I told you so moments have happened to you. Mm-hmm. And that's what people need to like understand. You cannot manipulate a system that has an end to it. Mm-hmm. Once you get to the end of your rope and you got nothing else to hold on to, you're pretty much screwed.
You're screwed.
And so if you haven't figured it out that you think you're getting over, you're not. You're just shorting your rope. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that people have to understand is that once your rope is that short and you have nothing else to hold on to, you're going to fall. And when you fall, you might not be able to get up.
Mm-hmm. Nope. Absolutely. This was a really good topic because I've learned a lot on this one, just even coming into it, thinking only from one perspective. And it just goes to show it's no universal way to get people to understand I told you so moments. It's something almost they got to come into a reckoning with themselves with.
Yep.
And I think it takes sometimes people more time or wisdom or maturity to do so. And one thing that I think has prevented me from a whole lot of I told you so moments is I seek wise counsel.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I don't walk around like I know everything and I've got it all together. That's the other thing that is leading a lot of people to I told you so moments because they're left to their own demise, if that makes sense.
Right. And the thing is, and like you said, they become tunnel vision to where, like, my thing is this: when you have so many I told you so moments, and you're not recognizing that, there's a problem. Mm-hmm. Yep. There's a problem, and that's where a lot of people need to understand and get it to where they understand that all you're doing is hurting yourself. You're not hurting nobody but yourself.
You know what just came to my mind? So something I may start asking people going forward is, are they living or existing?
Yeah.
Because living requires logic and reason to be applied. Existing is just emotion. You're just doing whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
So if you're just existing in life, then you're going to have all kinds of I told you so moments. But if you're trying to live, a better life, then you're going to be able to apply logic and reasons and have less I told you so moments.
And I think that's the thing is what happens with our young people, our young generations, is they think they know it, but they really don't, and they're not willing to listen. And they will, and I think we all went through that process where we have a lot of if you're having a lot of them, I mean, don't get me wrong, I had a couple of them, but when you have a lot of them, I mean, that means you're making some really bad decisions.
Mm-hmm. Right. Absolutely. And I totally agree.
And what prevents me from I told you so moments, I tell everybody I'm a realist. I deal in realism. I don't deal in what if, I don't deal in fantasy. So the second part of that, if I'm a realist, then I'm going to have to be real. So that means all my decisions, everything that I say, everything that I talked about, it's all about the realism. I can't live off of Mario's 30 million. I can't live off of your billion. I live off where I am.
Wait a minute, when I get 30 million?
I'm
sorry. Well, let me hold something. I had to lean up on that. Well, let me hold something.
So I'm gonna applaud y'all on what y'all got. It just gives me something to work toward. Cause see, it's another generational curse. You're taught to hate the rich when the rich aren't the problem. There are so many that are willing to tell you how many self-help programs, how many books out there they're willing to tell you how they got it. But instead, you hold yourself back because Tisha got 12 cars. I hope all of them burn up. You know,
Jealousy. That jealousy.
Yes. Mario got 15 businesses. I hope he filed Chapter 11. Why?
But these people, a lot of times, Eric, these people don't even realize that it's so natural for them to behave that way. They don't even have "I told you so" moments. They think, and then another thing I realized that people think just because they admit to something negative to you that it makes it okay. No, just because you told me the truth don't mean that I'm okay with that either. You know what I mean? Like it's like people want to tell you how to have your "I told you so" moment with them. Yeah. It's like they want to control the moment. So, you know, I don't know. It's really weird. We're dealing with some very, and I hate using the word narcissistical people so loosely, but that's what it is. It's narcissism at its highest now because everybody thinks that everybody else is a narcissist but themselves. But the reality is we're all born narcissistical. We have to learn how to apply logic and reason in order to not be narcissistical. So again, not creating those moments has to do with what the magic word, accountability.
That's right.
So this was really good because it enlightens now. I will say this, Mario, I've had a couple people who tried to hop on and they couldn't, so that something may be going on. That maybe why we
I noticed that too. I saw that too. And I think it's like I said, I tell you my system ever since Spectrum, ever since I've having problems with my network, my internet, I've been having a lot of issues, and like even the settings I had to change. So I saw that I was monitoring on Facebook all the people's comments, but I noticed they weren't coming up when we were talking.
Right.
So I did catch that. So I know it's a glitch, and I gotta fix it because just like my camera wasn't working when we first started. So I know it's something.
So I just wanted to kind of mention that's probably why we weren't seeing comments, because it's something going on where people weren't able to live stream into us. I don't mean no harm, but I think ever since that solar eclipse happened, it's been some weird stuff happening.
Oh, you ain't never lied. I mean,
I ain't lied. I think they didn't tell us something about that thing right there. Something going on, but
I'm telling you that all last week, almost all the worst cases that I could possibly have dealing with the community all happened after that eclipse. It's like it seemed like everyone just lost their mind.
I'm telling you, everybody was in a space. I'm saying something happened because even the dogs was acting crazy that day when that was going on.
Yeah, it was an eclipse of the sun and an eclipse of their mind too.
Yeah. Coming up some people's mind.
It's just blacked out. That's what happened. That's what's going on.
Well, you gonna wrap us on up, Mario?
Yes, indeed. And so, with that being said, this was extremely a good one. I told you so. No, but no, this was really good. I think we're next Wednesday. I think we're gonna have to do it. We're gonna have to do it next Wednesday also. Just to note to everybody that watches the show, because I do have a wedding next Tuesday, so I will be doing a wedding. Yes, I'll be doing a wedding on Tuesday. So I've already letting people know because I had to count like everything I normally do on Tuesdays. Not going to happen. So pretty much everything's going to go on Wednesdays. I will, and so we'll pick up next Wednesday.
Okay.
I guess next Wednesday we're going to talk about families in 2024.
Woo!
Okay.
So
look, we kind of hit the I told you so. Now let's get into the nitty gritty about these families.
Yep.
All right. So
all right,
thank y'all. We'll see y'all next time.
All right.
Hopefully
our technology will be a lot better than it was this time. All right. Peace. Y'all have a good night.